One of the things that I hated the most at the beginning of each school year was how many icebreaker activities we would have to go through. For those who don't know what an icebreaker is, it's basically a quick activity that helps to introduce yourself to a group of people. One could say you're breaking the ice, as the name implies. For example, hi everyone, my name is Milton Nguyen. I'm an 11th grade student at Miraloma High School, and I love to travel. Like that, an icebreaker could be something as simple as what you enjoy doing, but the one I saw most often growing up in schools, it asked you to share something about yourself that most people wouldn't know about you. I always thought icebreakers were kind of a waste of time and a waste of effort, but looking back now in retrospect, they turned out to be a great time of self-reflection and introspection for myself. So when it came time for me to answer that question about something most people wouldn't know about me, I would always use the same default response year after year. I would say that I learned how to swim before I learned how to walk. It was an interesting and unique statement, but more importantly, it reflected something fundamental about me. It reflected my love and my passion for swimming. The most ironic part of this statement, though, is that for a very long time as a baby and a young child learning how to swim, I absolutely hated swimming. My parents had somehow persuaded me to take swimming lessons not out of enjoyment, but out of necessity, to have that basic life-saving skill of knowing how to swim. Looking back now in retrospect, I thank God and both my parents every single day for that opportunity, as so many people are deprived of it and ultimately lose their life as a result of it. But when I was younger and when I was learning how to swim, I didn't have that sense of reflection, that sense of retrospection, or that sense of gratitude. And when I'd arrive to the pool for my swim lessons, I'd hold on to my car seat as if my life depended on it, in the hopes that I wouldn't have to swim that afternoon. I would throw temper tantrums and fits as my parents hoped and prayed to God that I would learn just enough to know how to swim. They didn't want me to fall in love with the sport of swimming or become an Olympian. All they wanted was to know that their son would be safe if he was ever at a pool, at a beach, or at a water park. But for me, swimming just was not my cup of tea. Looking back now in retrospect, those swim lessons taught me much more than the 4 strokes of swimming or how to blow bubbles underwater. They taught me the fundamental lesson that the uncomfortable situations in life offer us the greatest opportunities to learn and to grow. And that's a lesson I think many of you may have come to realize in your own past experiences. I may have hated almost every single second in the water as a young child, but then again, I now have the knowledge and the skills to be safe around the water. And that's something I believe every single person should have. Those swim lessons taught me how to grow as a person, directly showing me how to change right before my very own eyes. That initial hatred of the water morphed into what became a love for swimming. Now standing before you today as someone who would give up almost anything for swimming. Despite that early hatred of the water, my heart grew and my mind changed to love and embrace the sport. It sounds very cliche to say, but the water to me was like a second home. Spending most of the hours in my day either in or around some body of water helped me to develop this unique connection with the water that ultimately became a pillar in my life. As I mentioned earlier, the uncomfortable situations in life offer us the greatest opportunities to learn and to grow. And with swimming, it was no different. Today, my room is lined with countless trophies and countless medals as a result of years and years worth of swimming. My bedroom is lined and my closet is lined with heaps and heaps of swimming apparel ranging from t-shirts, sweatshirts, parkas, and what seems like an infinite number of swimming caps, swimming goggles, and swimming suits as a result of years and years worth of swimming. My mind is lined with the ideas of perseverance, of determination, of work ethic as a result of the countless hours of gruesome training that went on before dawn and after dusk every single day, and my body physically strong enough to endure almost anything. Swimming was a very large part of me, and it was something that completed me, and I truly felt like I was on top of the world during that time. But despite all of that, a bit over a year and a half ago was my first experience in what would be one of the lowest and hardest points of my life. Starting off the new year of 2019, my left shoulder presented this new pain. It was small yet noticeable. It was not anything coming from fatigue or from weakness, as I would have been able to recognize that immediately. This was something else, though, something that your body knew should not have been happening. The thing is, though, that swimmers often face complications and issues with their shoulders, almost like runner's knee, but instead with their shoulder. So the good news was that meant my shoulder injury would be easily treatable and easily fixed. But the reality of the situation is that life isn't always chock full of good news. taking the pressure and the workload off my shoulder proved to do nothing. Physical therapy that was meant to rehabilitate and strengthen my shoulder also proved to do nothing. Orthopedic surgeons, sports medicine doctors, physical therapists, their recommendations proved to do nothing, as that pain persisted and sometimes even worsened. Countless hours in an MRI machine, constant evaluations and checkups, and even an invasive shoulder surgery before the age of 16 proved to do nothing. No matter what method we took, no matter what approach we took, no matter what theory we tried to put behind it, that pain and that injury continued to persist. It felt like we were blindly looking for a needle in a haystack. Despite so recently feeling at the top of the world, I was left in this moment feeling completely abandoned, completely hopeless, sitting right there at rock bottom by myself. Now, I'm not here today to tell you a story that out of nowhere my shoulder injury disappeared as quickly and as magically as it came about. As a matter of fact, I'm still constantly looking and working towards a solution on that front. I'm not here to ask for your condolences or beg for your sympathy for my injury. No. What I am here to talk about, though, is to tell you a story about how my shoulder injury was not a wound, but rather a healing moment. My shoulder injury and the complications that came along with it were yet just another reminder in my life that the uncomfortable situations offer us the greatest opportunities to learn and to grow. In my uncomfortable time of injury, in my uncomfortable time away from the pool, I was able to grow and to learn far more than what would have been possible in the confines of that 25-yard pool. I was able to develop and grow my active passion in tobacco control advocacy, something that has affected my friends and my family quite personally. I've become a leading youth advocate in the field, going as far as becoming a national youth ambassador for the Campaign for Tobacco-Free Kids. Had the opportunity to advocate for policies and spread awareness for a mission that would help better the lives and better the health of every single person on this planet. My uncomfortable time of injury allowed me to grow and to lead a life that's centered around empathy rather than apathy. I've had the opportunity to testify before the California State Legislature in support of Senate Bill 39 and other measures like that do just that in extending empathy to our state's youth by protecting their lives from the greedy hands of big tobacco. Looking back, my shoulder injury, just like when I first learned how to swim, was a reminder that the uncomfortable situations in life offer us the greatest opportunities to learn and to grow. Now, what I've given you today has been an extremely simplified version of my 16 years of life, and especially the past year and a half of injury that I've suffered. It was not an easy journey to come to the realization of how discomfort and how pain could offer me such a great opportunity for learning and growth. It took time, it took effort, and it took a whole lot of reflection. It took me time as a young child to realize that I truly love swimming. The countless temper tantrums and fits I would throw because of swimming are direct proof of that. It took me time now to see how my injury could be a moment of growth and a moment in learning and advocacy that I would not have known if it weren't for that very same terrible injury. That took time. The constant amount of times I'd sulk around in anger and sadness, cursing the world and God for my injury, are direct proof of that. Looking back in retrospect, each hardship I've faced, no matter how adverse, no matter how heartbreaking or discomforting, they've all turned out to be a great time and a great moment of learning and a great moment of growth. People have faced far worse than I have, and people have faced far less. But the common denominator is through all of that pain and through all that discomfort, there's still always that opportunity for learning and for growth. In order to learn and grow, we must be willing to look back into the past, to reflect. Retrospection is a term I've used often throughout this talk, and for a very specific reason. Retrospection is an analysis of the past, to look back oftentimes into your own past. To look back into the past gives us the opportunity to grow, as without the past, there is no place to grow from. With that, I ask each of you to practice a bit of retrospection in your own life whenever you're ready. Look back into that past moment of discomfort and look for that silver lining. Look for that moment of growth, that moment of learning that may have previously been overcrowded by the raw emotion and the raw discomfort of the moment. Because I tell you, that moment of growth, that moment of learning is surely there, but only if you take the time and the opportunity to seek it out. Now, as I close, I ask for each of you just to keep that idea, that concept of retrospection in the back of your mind. Because as humans, we sometimes have to look in the rearview mirror, not to become obsessed or laser focused with the past. No, doing that will always result in a crash. But instead, at times, we have to look in the rearview mirror to see the growth and the learning that has put us in the present moment today. But more importantly, we do it to see the growth and the learning that will ultimately catapult us into a future that is filled with hope. Thank you.